You such a character who is the embodiment of the nerfed boss you befriend after you go through trial and error to beat said boss. Seriously, Yu has legit been at the top and bottom of the Metalverse in terms of power and reputation, and today we will not only be analyzing his fall off, but his journey overall as a character and if he recovered. We might be getting into the most fraudulent version of a character yet, and that includes the likes of Metal Fury Tsubasa and Metal Masters Masamune, so please be prepared. I think we should start where he was introduced, where we literally see him being in the center of a nuke explosion and not being intimidated by Ryuga, as like him and Gingka, he loves fighting strong opponents and has a passion for battling as a whole. He'd get humbled and would idolize Ryuga, joining Dark Nebula with no questions asked, and would be the inside man to set up Doji's plan in the Island Survival Challenge. And what's crazy is that Yu didn't even realize Doji's plan and honestly doesn't really care. He's just a little kid and was locked in after he heard that there were powerful bladers on an island. And this would lead us into the survival battle, where we see Yu's friendly nature being shown off more by befriending Kenta and having a nice attitude when he, Hikaru, Kenta, and Benkei engage in a battle. But the second Yu decides to start using some of his real strength, everyone begins to see just how terrifying this little kid can be. We see him go on to combat both Gingka and Kyoya, though Kyoya was weakened and gave up halfway because he didn't want to damage Leon, leading into Yu and Gingka's first real battle, and for the first time ever, Gingka would lose in a straight up one-on-one. Obviously, Tetsuya doesn't count, and I feel like the Ryuga fight doesn't really count either, since for one, L Drago is a very special Bey that specifically drains the energy of others, and Ryuga was also taking advantage of Gingka's mental state. Yu is just a straight up strong blader with a strong mindset, and Gingka needed this L to the chin to begin understanding not only what makes him strong, but what makes him want to become stronger. I briefly talked about this in my Tsubasa video with Gingka and Phoenix, but Yu defeating Gingka was pretty much the stepping stones for what Phoenix would teach Gingka. Anyway, Yu after defeating Gingka would set up battle bleeders and would still work under Dark Nebula, stopping Tsubasa and end up befriending and going on missions with him, but then after Tsubasa betrays and leaves Dark Nebula, Yu would still not understand what's going on until the battle bladers event starts. Now you see, Yu is a very big player within Dark Nebula by this point. Aside from Ryuga and the revealed Reji, he is without a doubt the strongest that the organization's got. And so when Doji sees his little prodigy get folded in the first round from Gingka's new special move, you can already expect what Doji would consider of Yu now. Doji already thought Yu was disposable, but now he just thinks he's completely useless, and this leads into Doji forcing Yu to fight Reji in order to stay in the organization. Yu, in contrast to when he was fighting Gingka, would be feeling fear and regretting to even partake in this battle in the first place. And I do think it's interesting that the show uses Yu to pretty much show the contrast in Gingka and Reji and just how opposite they are, and it's just fuel for that epic fight later on in the arc. But anyway, after Yu somehow escapes against Reji, he joins up with Team Gingka and witnesses battle bladers going down, supporting Gingka and the others. He'd even help Kenta stand up to Reji, which is one of the best moments in the arc, and even despite Reji's attempt at crushing Yu's spirit, he let the fire that Gingka set off within him burn his fear of Reji away. Though Yu is met with the reality that Ryuga in fact cares about no one but power, and that his idol is an evil planet-ending maniac. Which is why he then starts to look at Gingka for hope, as we know Gingka defeats Ryuga and the World Martial Arts Tournament would begin. Now, even after Battle Bladers, Yu would still be shown prominent in the Beyblade world, winning battles against fodder people, but Metal Masters is unfortunately the beginning of the greatest fall off in all of Beyblade, arguably. Remember how I was speaking very highly of Yu in Fusion? Well, that all is about to change. Masamune would intercept he and Tsubasa's fight, which leads into Yu pretty much losing, but the fight wouldn't count since Masamune intercepted them. And then this would lead into their actual fight for the qualifiers of Team Japan, and he would straight up lose to Masamune this time, but he'd still get a chance to join Team Japan by fighting Tsubasa, who currently is suppressing the dark power, so maybe he actually has a chance to beat him this— oh, never mind. Tsubasa just beats him anyway. Okay, that's cool. Oh, Kyoya turns down a spot, so that means Yu would technically be the substitute of Team Gang Galaxy. Alright, he's still a part of the gang. Alright, let's go. Wow, this is going to be interesting. Our story is going to start off with Gingka, Masamune, Tsubasa, and Yu as the main characters. Oh boy, I wonder what fights he's going to get into in the first round. Oh, yeah, he doesn't fight at all. Okay, well, I wonder what fight he's going to get into the second round. Okay, against Team Russia? I'm sure this fight is going to be— okay, he gets a win. Oh, the fight is boring and trash and doesn't really mean anything for Yu's character? Okay, seriously, Yu's first actual fight wouldn't be until the final round of the second team they're fighting against, that being Team Russia. I consider it a W since Team Russia was cheating regardless, but it just kinda sucks that the Russia team is not as prevalent or important as the other ones. Like, this is without a doubt the least interesting team in the World Tournament. Anyway, you would luckily get the luxury to battle the next two teams in double battles, but these fights are really weird for Yu's reputation. You see, you would fight Damure and Benkei first with Tsubasa, and he would hold his ground pretty firmly since he's stronger than both of them, but the problem was with not only his teammate Tsubasa fighting the voices, but Damure and Benkei specifically using their teamwork to get the advantage on both Tsubasa and Yu. Tsubasa with the dark power would legit squad wipe the entire field, eliminating Damure, Benkei, and Yu. So yeah, Yu's team definitely got a point and won to the next round, but you got knocked out in the process. And it's even worse against Team Europe since Sophie and Whales, like the last time they fought you, by the way, completely neg him and force Tsubasa to lock in and 2v1 to get Gingka Galaxy the win. Now, Yu was crucial in Tsubasa breaking out of the dark power and one-shotting these two. However, in terms of the actual fight itself and like what Yu did in the battle, Yu in both of these fights got carried and did little to pretty much nothing to either of the opponents. And we are about to reach the climax of Metal Masters, and so far he's only won one battle. And the only reason they gave you this fight is so they could say, oh my god, the substitute of Team Gingka Galaxy beat a team leader. But like, that doesn't mean anything if the character is trash, and the worst is yet to come. We haven't even talked about the Garcia fight. I don't know what they were thinking, what they did to you in this arc, but oh my god, how could they massacre my boy? So, Team Garcia's whole thing is that they are low-key kinda weak and use cheap tactics to get ahead of stronger opponents. One of them needs a specific stadium to be competent, and the other two need combo moves and need to work together to even compete with any relevant fighter in the tournament. And so, their strat to pick out their weakest blader and manipulate bro into thinking they're friends, and to then jump him and get his Beyblade damn near broken is diabolical. I don't know why they did this to him. Well, I know why they did this. They did this just to get under Gingka Galaxy's skin, and unfortunately, they all take the bait and agree to settle it all in one match. And even despite you getting jumped, he tries to lock in with Libra and gives us one of the best efforts against an opponent even despite their conditions, but unfortunately due to Libra taking so much damage, you would lose to probably the weakest person in the entire tournament and would look like the sorriest blader in the entire world. Luckily Masamune gets him his get back, but if you've been on the channel before, then you already know. Masamune has to save you. Are you even worth saving? Anyway, you past this point doesn't really get to do much in the series. He and Tsubasa get jumped by Damien and he uses Infernal Blast to save Gingka and break the arrangement system, but that's really all about Yu does in this season. Besides losing, he's just pretty much Tsubasa's butt buddy. And to think that the Yu from Metal Fusion is the same guy who'd go on to become this is sickening, and it has to be studied. I mean, we're studying it right now. And it's crazy since the beginning of Metal Masters, Yu has just been sorry. Like, how is Tsubasa dropping you while he's trying to scream the voices out of his head? How is Masamune, of all people, going to have one up on you? Luckily though, Metal Fury actually redeems you, but to an extent. The reason I say this is because he does come back way stronger, and after training and locking in after his horrid performance in the last season, which he himself has admitted, he'd managed to become strong enough to hold his own against legendary bladers and even Rago to an extent. I personally think Yu out of the non-legendary blader crew has the most impressive showings besides Kenta, obviously. He not only fought Kyoya and forced him to rely on his special move, the same one that put a gap between him and Gingka, but he'd go on to fight Tithi and be the person to break out of Nemesis's barrier. And this is mainly because of his new special move, that being the final Infernal Blast, which is just an even scarier Infernal Blast that's multiple times bigger and stronger. I also like that this season decides to give us Yu and Kyoya's first real battle, and seeing how two very different people who were inspired by Gingka to an extent clash heads. It goes without saying, Yu definitely does get some great treatment in Fury and ends up standing by Gingka, his new inspiration, to take down Rago, the same guy who Doji was trying to revive all along. And it's funny to see how Doji's two associates end up working together on the same side to bring him down. The only thing I felt like that would have made this perfect is if we got an actual scene of Ryuga and Yu talking down Doji, or maybe Yu defending Ryuga's honor. And although I find this to be be decently executed. I don't think it really justifies Yu's treatment in Metal Masters, especially since Yu and the last legendary blader that they need before the final fight happens are shown in the same place. So yes, Yu's stuff in Fury is great, but we only see Yu for like 10 episodes in Metal Fury, and that's not even me exaggerating. But regardless, I do appreciate Yu and Kyoya's different mentalities clashing head on as they try to guide Tithy since he's so young. Nonetheless, Fury did give Yu a nice conclusion after whatever you want to call what Masters gave him. It's just crazy how much of an all-star Yu is in every season that isn't Metal Masters. And what's funny is that on this channel we've talked about Yu, we've talked about Masamune, but we haven't even begun to talk about the biggest tragedy in all of Metal Masters, which may or may not be the next video. Anyways, thank you for watching and peace out.